So we are going to talk about all the do's and don'ts in the bar exam study for interior bar exam process. So the number one rule, how to read professional responsibility. First of all, look at your bar material. You have chapters relating to professional responsibility, and you also have Law Society's rules regarding professional responsibility and bylaws. So my first tip number one, is to divide professional responsibility pages and make it part of your everyday study. So the number one rule is we are reading professional responsibility on everyday basis, and we are not splitting with the pages, and we are not reading it one by one. We are reading it all together. We're reading professional responsibility chapters, rules and bylaws. So wherever in the chapters they talk about rule 2.02, rule 2.07, we are going to go to the rules in a rule book and read the rule more in detail along with the commentary. So that's my tip number one. I've seen students first reading the law part, then reading the professional responsibility, and in the end they don't have time to read the rules and the bylaws, or they in the last 2 or 3 days they will be reading the rules and bylaws and hurrying up. I would say this can be very dangerous approach when we coming to bar exam process, because you may not be able to grasp all the information in last 2 or 3 days. You need to clearly understand your role as a lawyer. If you look at the Law Society of Ontario licensing process, you will see this is barrister competency and solicitor competency. So barrister and solicitor competency do have filter of professional responsibility throughout the process. So we must read the rules along with the main material. That's my tip number one. Next question I received from University of Ottawa students, how to divide the bar material, how to bind the bar material. Do I need to keep it in a loose leaf folder and take out the pages whenever I want to read, or should I go for professional binding? So I've received this request from University of Ottawa students and University of Toronto students to give my input about the binding of bar material. In my experience, I believe you should go for a professional service for binding the material. Why? They would do this kind of very easy coil binding, which I highly recommend. And you should have family law, civil law, criminal law, and public law in separate books. Real estate, business law, estate planning, they all should have a separate books, and I highly recommend having the main page as a colored page so that you can differentiate in the material. Now, why should you get this coil binding, and why do I recommend not having the loose leaf material, and why can't I have a big coil binder and take out whenever I want to? Why do I recommend that? The main reason to recommend this is we have a habit of traveling around the house. These days we are all living, mostly working from the house or studying from the house only, and we have a tendency of keeping it in the pages, studying at different places in the house and keeping it all around the house. So it can be a very stressful situation if you lose a page. Sometimes you may forget a page and you may not be able to organize it better. So I recommend, so the number one thing I recommend is the binding from a professional, specifically with the coil binding. I know it takes some time to go for this kind of service. It wastes time, but trust me, it's worth it. It makes your study more organized. Plus, when you have sticky notes or when you have any pages in your material, that is very, very recommended service. So the third tip for my students is always from the day one, whatever you read, you make sure you have it in the point form. How do you make main points? What do you know about the main points? How do you divide it? So I highly recommend taking an A4 sheet folding it like this, and now you can tear it into 2 pieces and staple it on your every chapter of bar material, whether it's family law, it's civil law, it's real estate, business law and estate planning. Right as you are studying, whatever you feel that a lawyer should do or don't, scribble it on the first page. Put it on every chapter and put it in front of every chapter. It will be more organized if you have a binding material in the coil binding. It would be highly effective if you have a material in professionally already have the material in the professional binding. So that's going to help you. And why do we need this kind of stuff? Because once we read the bar material, we are lawyers, we understand it. If we don't understand it in the first go, we will understand it the second time. But when we have read 1,000 pages or 1,200 pages or 1,500 pages, when we come back, it is very hard to find a landing movement in the material. Most of the students come to me a week before exam and they'll be like, Gul, I don't remember anything. I know I have read it, I've reviewed it, but I don't remember it. So how do we eliminate that fear factor which is going to come 1 week before the exam? So your best friend at that level is having a piece of paper stapled in front of your most of your chapters, if not every chapter, so that you have your own points written in that. For example, divorce chapter. There are 3 reasons in which we all know that there are 3 reasons in which divorce can be denied or delayed. It can be collusion, conspiracy, and not taking care of the children's child support. So all 3 reasons, you don't have to read that 5 paras again and again. You know that this is a hurdle in the divorce, so you can write in your own language in the first page. I hope it makes sense to you. It made all the sense when I was writing, and when I teach, I highly encourage my students and they find it very, very helpful. How to highlight the material? Do I need to highlight from the day 1? Do I need to wait till my first reading? Yes, highlighting should begin from the day 1. So that's my 4th tip for the day, that highlighting should begin from the day 1. There's another video on interior bar exam and self-study on my channel. You can watch that to see how I encourage to do self-study and be more organized. So the 4th step is you should have your highlighters ready before you start studying for the bar exam. As they say, law school is a place where highlighters go to die for. For that reason, I always recommend having few extra colors of your highlighter. If you're using orange, so you need at least 4 orange highlighters to survive throughout the bar material, because the frustrating thing for us is we are also training our brain. Bar exam is a time constrained process. We have to buy time in the exam. For that reason, from the day 1, we are trying to train our brain to study and also reflect on that study. So if I see my orange highlighter, which the way I work, I would always know that this is more my test. So I know that these are 5 tests on this chapter to get a warrant, or to before getting specific performance, this is the hurdle I need to pass. Or for taxation, for example, in section 34 of the solvency test has to be met before a company can issue shares or buy back the shares from the shareholders. So there are different situations. So I use one color highlighter as a test indicator for everything. So whenever I say test, it means prerequisite. Something has to happen. I'm a company director, I want to buy back the shares, but is there a prerequisite for me to do so? The answer is yes. If my question is asking that, I will immediately know where to go, and when I look at that page, I have already trained my brain to use one color of highlighter. If I run out of the highlighters and I start using midway some other color, it's only going to cause confusion in our studies. So I highly recommend having minimum 5 colors and using and buying them in bunch and using them consistently throughout the material. So that's my fourth tip for the material organization. So my fifth tip is from my internationally trained lawyer community. So many internationally trained lawyers who are coming to Ontario through NCA route, they are saying they are reading 200 pages, 150 pages on an average per day in their law practice. So how do they need to study in the bar material? So what is the realistic? So I would say count your days. If when your material is in a professionally it's already been professionally binded, you have organized everything, start studying and make your realistic approach for the studies. On an average, a person should be able to read at least 40 pages per day. And that 40-45 pages also include your professional responsibility. So if you are reading, some days you can read more of law. So for example, many people find it easy to read family law. So they go it faster in the family law. Some students find it very easy to read business law. So you should have a realistic target of reading 50 pages. It's absolutely realistic. This is my fifth tip. And whenever you lack short of pages, try to compensate it with professional responsibility. You can watch my other video about Ontario bar exam and self-study. It's on my channel and it's there. So we are talking about our different tips to organize our material. We are on top of the game next month when we are writing the June bar exams. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Believe in yourself. You are almost a lawyer. I provide coaching for Ontario bar exam, both barrister and solicitor component in one-on-one basis as well as in group settings. If you need any assistance regarding bar exam, do write to me. If you would like to suggest any other area of law where I should make a video, I would be delighted to receive your feedback regarding my videos and keep motivating me to make more videos. I look forward to see you in my group classes for June 2021 bar exam. Good luck for your studies. Thank you very much for watching my channel, Canadian Law Tutor.